are like schools of fish. This is Susie. Her dream is to become a dancer. That's why she joined a dance school. This is Norm. His dream is to not become dinner. That's why he joined a fish school. As you can see, Susie's idea of school and Norm's idea of school are very different. That's why they don't understand each other whenever they talk about school. Susie wonders, how can they call it a school of fish when they don't even have a building? And Norm wonders, how can they call it a school of dance when it doesn't even move from place to place? The confusion comes from using one word with two very different meanings. When Susie says school, she means a place, a program, an organization. When Norm says school, he means something more like a swarm, a herd, or a flock. When Susie and her friends graduate, their school will still be intact because their kind of school has an existence apart from its members. But when Norm and his friends go their separate ways, their school will dissolve. Without Norm and his friends, their school doesn't even exist. One word, two very different meanings. The same can be said of the word church. In fact, here's one of the first Christians. We'll call him Max, and we'll put him over here on Norm's side because Max's concept of church is very much like Norm's school of fish. Max's church is fairly small, mainly just his family and a handful of friends and neighbors. They meet almost every night at his house, and it's very informal. Max loves his church and often refers to them simply as his family. Now let's bring in Ed. Ed is one of today's Christians. He doesn't think his church is all that big, but it's far too big to meet in a living room. That's why they own a church building. They also have a small paid staff and volunteers who run the various youth programs and Sunday school classes. But here's where things get really interesting. If you ask Ed whether he thinks the word church describes a group of Christians somewhat like Norm's school of fish, or an institution attended by Christians, somewhat like Susie's school of dance, his answer might surprise you. Many Christians like Ed think they think about church in the exact same way Max does, but they don't. And the way they use the word church proves this. Just listen to some of the ways today's Christians use the word church. What church do you go to? What time does church start? Look at that beautiful old wooden church. In each instance, the church is something separate from themselves. It's an institution. What church do you go to? Or an event. What time does church start? Or a building. Look at that beautiful old wooden church. You could easily replace their use of the word church with Susie's use of the word school. What school do you go to? What time does school start? Look at that beautiful old wooden school. But if you tried to substitute Max's term of affection for his church, it would actually sound kind of crazy. What family do you go to? What time does family start? Look at that beautiful old wooden family. It simply doesn't make sense. Okay, so school. One word with two very different meanings. Church, a word that had only one meaning until we gave it another.